Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoe.
Councilman, in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby at the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Okay, welcome everyone. Nice to see everyone. First item on the agenda tonight is presentation with crosswalks in Tenafly. And Jimmy, who's taking the lead on this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, there was a discussion and some questions about the requirements for a crosswalk. So it was asked and requested to have the chief kind of give some information on that. So he's joined us tonight to give a little bit of information on how that works, the requirements, what the process, and how requests are submitted, and the evaluation process through through the borough offices and the various offices. So he's on tonight to go through that.
Okay. Hey, Chief, how you doing? Are you unmuted?
Good.
Or?
Very good, yes. Yeah.
Good. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Appreciate your time. You're going to talk to us a little bit about crosswalks this evening?
That's what I've been asked to do, yes.
Okay, it's all yours then.
Okay, so how do we get to this? Basically, I guess there was a request for some crosswalks in the wake of the pedestrian fatality. And there's been some, I guess, inquiries about how to, what are the rules that govern crosswalks. So by statute, every crosswalk is, every intersection is a crosswalk, whether marked or unmarked. So, and case in point, something the individual that, the driver, the person involved in the fatality, one of the charges, which is public knowledge, is failing to yield to pedestrians at a crosswalk because they were actually crossing in that region. So motorists have an obligation to stop for pedestrians in crosswalks, whether marked or not. Obviously, the marking, the delineation, obviously is better. It is something that obviously is eye-catching and provides a little extra protection for pedestrians that are in those crosswalks. So when it comes to painting them, I think there was a request to actually paint more of them, which I'm not opposed to. We have done this before in the past. However, some of the rules have changed over time. So when it comes to any new intersection that's developed or constructed, the requirement is to actually put the handicap accessible ramps in there, and that comes with the construction. If now you're going to be painting, I double checked with Mazer Engineering. While it's not required, it is highly recommended if you're going to be painting a crosswalk that the intersection or the corners have the handicap accessible ramps. That one intersection in particular, I don't believe has them. And for the question for painting, multiple crosswalks in the locations, I'm in favor of them. I just, again, Mazer wasn't saying it was required, but it's highly recommended that they also come. They're connected to these these pedestrian ramps that have that little placard, obviously for the people that have a vision impaired, and they can tell that they're at the crosswalk. And those ramps run anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 per corner, based upon the amount of work that needs to be done. So in the past, I think it was a lot more simple, not so simple now. So, we can prioritize some of the locations that we feel needs painting, but again, the painting does give added, I guess, protection to pedestrians, but every intersection is a crosswalk. All motorists are supposed to be yielding to pedestrians that are anywhere near a crosswalk or in the process of crossing the street.
Council members have questions. Lauren, please.
Thank you so much for joining us. One of the things that I was speaking with the county is to get crosswalks where there's buses. And I know in particular on Angle, we have significant bus traffic, and then again on County and Piermont. So when there's larger trucks or buses that maybe cars or pedestrians can't see around, we were thinking focus on those. And I just wanted to throw that idea out and see what you thought.
So you're saying more crosswalks on Angle Street, you're saying? Is that what you said, Angle Street?
Yes, Angle, County, Piermont, where there's significant traffic and then commuter traffic.
We have some there now. We can look to see where there's other ones that could be used. I know that they don't really want you putting one every intersection. Now, obviously in Angle, there's a lot of stop stations, so it would be counterproductive to have too many. There are also there now. We can look to add some. And again, with the recommendation of Mazer, probably should come with some ramps. So county, I know the locations, we could probably use one. I'm sorry, you say Piermont. When you say Piermont, we've had this request on Piermont to have crosswalks over by the old Piermont restaurant, which now is, I think it's a Korean restaurant now. And it's served, people requested for the purposes of kids that cross there. And
Exactly.
the problem that I've had there is that if we did that, we are actually encouraging kids to cross over the railroad tracks. So we don't have a train that runs there anymore, and I'm not worried about a train, obviously coming down the tracks and hurting someone, but we're going to be encouraging people to cross over basically obstacles, rails and railroad ties and uneven terrain, and I never would endorse that because I think if someone fell there, they would say, oh, you are directing people to go that way. So that's problematic in that location, and many people have requested that, and I've stayed away from that. But for the people who, for that smaller parking for the Lubavitch, maybe there could be an accommodation for the parking lot, again, not to cross the crosswalk. And then what was the other location? You said County Road?
County. So, I know in particular County and Hillside and County and Hudson.
This crosswalk's there now, though. At Hillside, there has to be. It's a major intersection.
I don't believe, well, I have to go back and look.
And Hudson, you're saying? Okay, we can look at that. County, Hudson, you said some locations on Angle Street, and then a couple on Piermont. We can look at that also too. And when it comes to the ramps, I mean, we'll see how that plays out. And I guess a recommendation will be made to you folks as to, or even I guess the borough attorney gets involved. Yeah, I mean, what would you rather do? Would you rather? Because Mazer fell short of saying the required uses, but he says he has no problem recommending painting it, but a ramp should follow soon thereafter. That was his recommendation.
So Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor is going to go next, but Chief, one of the things, but after the council members have an opportunity to ask their questions, perhaps you mentioned this about Mazer and yourself getting together and doing the top 10 or the top 20 recommendations, and then come back to the council with recommendations, and we can put numbers to it. But Julie, please go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that I agree. I was kind of going to go in that direction. I was going to say that, Chief, one of the catalysts of this meeting was that, I get approached by residents, and I was wondering, much like this discussion is bearing fruit, where you're thinking of all the places that are your concerns, do our residents have a conduit to maybe they have observed some areas that they would like relayed, like, that's, I was just going to say, is there a way for them to weigh in as you're doing your considerations, almost like we've been doing with some of the other issues? We've been doing like a public comment. I was, if I have people who ask me, is there some direction I can point them in with you? Because, you are definitely the expert, but, maybe there might be some areas that somebody else might bring to your attention. So that's what I wanted to ask.
I'm not opposed to that. I mean, we get inquiries on a regular basis, and lots of times we forward them to the traffic bureau supervisors to actually do an inspection and to do a review. And some things something do actually get implemented and some things don't because of other rules and things of such. But I have no problem with you directing people our way, so then we'll take a look at that.
Okay, Councilman Grossman, I believe you were next.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Always appreciate. I do want to echo what Councilmember O'Connor just said, her sentiment, and also picking up on a thread from Councilmember Dayton on Piermont. This is just recollection, and my recollection is not as good as it used to be. But when the Lubavitch applied for the additional floor and the playground on the roof, and they came before the Board of Adjustment, I was on the board at that time, and my recollection is that they, at that time, were instructed as part of the decision to approach the police department about putting kind of a hatch marking from the facility across the street towards the track, because they do have a lease for that for parking. And I don't know if they ever did that, but I will check to see. I believe that's actually in the resolution granting them the right to go up the extra floor. So
if you have the resolution, you can forward to me. I'd like to read that. But as I said, I'm not opposed to making an accommodation for the parking lot just a little further north up the road. I'm talking about over by Latz. That's
right
where kids are crossing over to go to, is it West Mahan over there? And I just can't endorse that.
No, this was strictly for, Jimmy, would it be possible for you to, normally, in the old days, I would have called Lindsay and said, Lindsay, pull the resolution. But it's the last resolution, I believe, for the Lubavitch. It's when they added the extra floor. And the resolution should be on file, has to be, not should. It is on file with the building department. If you want, I'll contact, or if you can contact, and see if that was in there, and if it is, it should be forwarded to the chief.
Well, also too, along the lines of pedestrian safety, I'm not sure if I would imagine you all did see a lot of the speed limit signs we painted in the roadway. We really tried to accentuate that because a lot of the street signs, unfortunately, become like white noise to a lot of motorists. But if you're driving over something, you really can't say that you didn't see it. But I bring it up because on Piermont Road, right next to Lubavitch, we did paint a school crossing, slope school crossing stencil or symbol there that had not been there, and that is a school. It's a growing school, and we did put that there. But I'm not saying that that would replace the crosswalk. But I just wanted to say that we did put that safety measure.
I think it was actually some sort of a hatched area. I can't remember what it was.
Well, what it is a crosswalk can just be two lines, or they can be a hatched crosswalk, which is something that further accentuates its existence to draw the attention of the driver. That's what it might be.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Dayton?
I just want to second the mayor's idea where the traffic, with, public input, of course, where the traffic division comes back to us with some suggestions. But also I have an additional request, and actually, as we celebrate Pride Month this month, the Pride Committee had actually looked to have a permanent rainbow crosswalk. So I'll just add that in, if that's possible at all within our town. Excuse me, all my family's talking. And so if we can, as we inspect and investigate this, see if that's an option as well.
I'm sorry, permanent what? Crosswalk?
It's a rainbow crosswalk.
Oh, you mean painted rainbow colors?
It's, yes.
I don't know if that's gonna meet the MUTCD standards, the MUTC, the manual uniform traffic control devices. That's it for the DOT.
That will not comply.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So, then I know some other communities do it maybe just for the month of June. So just throwing that out there.
There are other, I'm sorry to step on your toes,
No,
Chief.
good.
I don't think you're going to stop me. But there are other concerns when it comes to painting anything that is not with the DOT standard, because, quite frankly, it puts liability on the municipality for painting it if there is an accident, because it's outside of the norm. So somebody may not recognize it. So I would strongly recommend not doing anything outside of the traffic standards.
I will relay that back to the Pride Committee, but there was a request.
Okay, if there's no other comments from council members, Jimmy, it sounds like we're going to ask you to organize the chief and Mazer to, put together, again, the top 10, top 20, whatever the number is that you think is appropriate to come back to the council with suggestions of locations and attach some sort of economic dollar figure to it so we know what we're dealing with.
Okay, you got it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief, for joining us this evening.
I'll be on later in closed session. I'll see you later.
Okay. See you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is under to be considered of the medical director. And Councilwoman Dayton, did you place this on the agenda, or did Jimmy?
I believe, Jimmy, did I do this or did you do this? I'm happy to discuss this, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I did not, but I mean, I could give a brief summary of the idea. The ambulance corps has requested and wanted to look into retaining a medical director for the ambulance corps. There are some benefits, and we just had a one brief conversation with the prospective doctor who'd be qualified to be considered as a medical director for TVAC. And the main benefits would be allowing the ambulance corps to carry certain medications. They'd be trained. This would be a strictly voluntary position. So it would be great. It would allow the ambulance corps to expand their capabilities and what medicines and treatments they're able to hold within the ambulance and within their confines and capabilities. So Council President Dayton, if you want to add anything more to that. Like I said, we just had one brief conversation with the prospective doctor, and we will come back with more information. But that's kind of where we just had that conversation this week.
Thank you, Jimmy. So, we are still determining how we will be defining this position at all, and TVAC will be doing that. The question is whether we have a medical advisor, which is within our ordinances, or a medical director, which is within the state ordinances. And so that definition has not been determined at this time. And the conversation will be between the captain of our TVAC and Jimmy, and, if HR comes, HR and any prospective doctor. And so that's just, in being explored and investigated right now. So that's just an update.
Yeah, so just to give the council some background, this idea has been, floated for a long time. And we're really just, frankly, getting around to having serious conversations about moving it forward. So it's really at the genesis of the organizational process. And we wanted to make sure the council understood that from its inception and see if anyone has any questions or comments as we go down this road. None? I don't see any hands, Omar, do you?
No.
Okay. All right, so as Councilwoman Dayton said, there's more info to come on this, and we'll keep the council appraised as it rolls out, as it develops. Okay. Next item to be considered, electric vehicle charging stations. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, you put this on the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I was asked last time to do some more follow-up, and in a moment I'm going to ask Omar to flash up a few slides I'd like to share. So we have an option I'd like to get some consensus on this evening, and right now, Omar's flashing up the first option, which is a free option, which is Volta. And you'd heard the gentleman, John Stuckley, present to us about a month or so back. And this is their proposal. Now, the first slide you see is what they estimate is the amount of visits to our downtown Tenafly and the amount of people who have electric vehicles. 1 in 55 vehicles are within a 3-mile radius of Tenafly are plug-in. They say they get this data from cell phone data and internet usage and I guess purchasing. So this is why they're interested in working with us. They think this is a market that has quite a lot of electric vehicles. They'd like to install 6 of them for free of charge. Omar, would you mind going to the next slide for me? Or maybe it's more of a scroll. Yeah, just one up, one moment. That was the third. Yeah, right there. So, and so there's another map of our area, and they say that our rate of adoption in Tenafly is even higher than the national average. And I know personally, I'm seeing certainly more and more EVs. Now, if you go to the third slide, Omar, where you just were, and appreciate this. So take a look at this where we are nationally. And this is why I feel that from an infrastructure perspective, I've kind of changed my own perspective on this, my own idea. Whereas I think that we are just going to see much more charging stations wherever we go in many downtowns. And the reason I'm pointing this out is if you look at the left-hand column, that is a row of, no, yeah, that's a row of car companies that obviously make combustible engine cars, okay? And look at how they are moving in the direction of electric vehicle production. So I'm talking just the left hand of your screen. You have Daimler, their entire Mercedes-Benz portfolio is going to be, they're going to electrify it by 2022. You have your Volkswagen, 22 million electric vehicles in the next 10 years. GM, Ford, you could see all of the stats there, and that doesn't account for the middle column, which are the electric vehicle actual companies. So on the left are companies that make different types of cars that are moving in the direction of EVs, but the middle is of course where you have the EV, of course, everyone knows Tesla and others. And on the right hand side, you see the government's commitment to this. And if you see New Jersey, it says that by 2035 that all new cars sold in New Jersey would likely be zero emission vehicles. And we know these are the goals of our government. So I'd like to go to the next slide to show you what their option is. All right. And this slide is just showing you that it keeps going up. So we can go to the next slide, please. So this is what Volta's proposal was. They would like to put in 3 level 2 media stations. They make their money by the advertisements, and you'll see it on the map where those would be placed. But the benefits for the customers is that they're free to people who go to plug them in, and they would attract people to the downtown. And Volta pays for the installation, the equipment, and the network. Those are 3 areas of cost should we go in another direction. But to my mind, the most exciting thing, the absolute major attractant, would be what they call the level 3 charging station, the fast charge. And just so what people see what that is, that I'm in the middle row there, and then so it's 200 miles of charge for the 1 hour. Now that is an enormously expensive one for them to put in and to maintain, so they wouldn't be able to give the entire hour for free, but they would give a specified amount to the people who want to plug in there for free, and then the person could pay. The good news from a town perspective is not only is that getting in for free, at any of those costs we have nothing to do with that. It's completely it's completely on them. And that would probably be our most powerful tool for bringing long distance travelers who might be coming from New York State and down. They have on the app, they know they can get a fast charge in Tenafly. That would bring them. And as we know, people love free things. So there would be 3 level 2 media charging stations for free, and that would also bring people. And also for them to do that in our town, they would also be giving us 2 free charging stations in our municipal lot, which wouldn't have any media piece to it, wouldn't have any television. Those would just be for our future electric vehicle fleet with our, building inspectors, cars, things like that. They would put those in for free, and then the electricity, all that would be free. So that's their commitment. On the next slide, you'll see where they'd like to put them. Okay, so here's your downtown. I know the slide's a little small, but actually you can see it there. You got West Railroad Avenue has 2 kiosks, and then 2 on Washington. If you go to the next slide, Omar, that'll show you more to scale. So the next slide, please. Omar. A little, there we go. Okay, back up. One more, Omar.
2.
It's a delay. Okay, we'll look at these first. Okay, there you go. Okay, so the level 3 charging, the fast one, is so there's a few things that go into play with installing EV charging. You're looking at the electricity that's buried. They look at what they can run and how they can install it. And so in the place where you see the yellow lines, you'll see that is where right now the police, that's like reserved for a police car. So that we, is the place they'd have to put the level 3. And because of all what they need there. And then across the way is the corner of where the Arroyo jewelry store is. And you have, if you were like coming closer in the picture, you would see Tenafly Diner. So that would be a single port across Railroad Ave where no one currently parks anyway. And then the other one across in front of the jewelry store. And then again, that's how it would look. So they make their money off of advertisements. They have a commitment that, a policy where it would be no inappropriate ads, no political ads. These are mostly national chains, and they would also have a discount for local businesses who'd like to advertise on there. They would flash. And on the next slide, Omar, they'll show you where they'd like to put the other 2.
That's all I
There
have.
it jumped ahead for 1 sec. Right there, perfect. And that would be the other 2. Those are level 2 charging. And as I've said, that the reason they want them there or can use them there is because they're going to have to run the electricity, and they were looking at certain factors that I wouldn't know about. And they like to have it in places where people walk, obviously, would be exposed to the ads. Would you mind going one more slide? I think that's that for them, and then I'll talk about some of our cost options. I think was that the final slide?
The final slide.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, all right. So just to explain a couple of things that I've learned, and you could stop sharing that now if you'd like. Thank you, Omar, for your help. So a couple of things I've learned is that it's almost impossible for a community that would provide the charging to make it back. The cost of the electricity is low. So even when the customer is paying, you'd have to have some of your own municipal workers, in charge of the network and those pieces. But you're never going to really make back the money that you're going to expend when you're installing the charger. So that's just something for my fellow council people to keep in mind. Westwood is looking more closely at this option, as is Ridgewood. And I know that we've talked about the fact that this particular company already has a footprint with our county, whereas they're currently in the Bergen County Zoo, and they're going into Overpeck Park. And basically, we've heard very good things about our people at the county with how they've interacted with them and what they provide. So now I want to just let my fellow council people and the mayor know what had been forwarded on Monday, and also the residents who are online can hear. Jimmy and I had a meeting with ChargePoint, who's the largest electric vehicle charging provider in the country. And so I want to talk about how they only provided what you'd call dual ports. So not those single spaces, but you would put that in and then it would charge for the two parking spots that it's in between two parking spots, right? And so you have three costs, as I've said before. You have an installation cost, you have an equipment cost, and you have a network cost. Okay, so the installation cost for a dual level 2 port is they couldn't give us the exact estimate, but it's $7,200 as there is a dual port estimate, might be a discount coming later. The equipment cost, I couldn't tell what the level 2 equipment cost was, but just to give you how expensive the level 3 would be, that's that fast charge, that'd be $50,000 for a level 3 charging fast charge, the one that gives the 200 miles for the 1 hour charge. So it's quite high. It'd be about $5,000, they said, for a dual port for the municipal fleet. It'd be about $12,000 for the network for level 2 chargers. I wasn't entirely sure how many that covered, but I do have to say that in my house we have a saying that almost done is not done, right? So my issue with these other vendors, the ones that pay, and I think Jimmy could attest to it, is we've worked for a while with getting specifics in costs and prices, but they don't seem to provide that in any timely fashion. So all I can go on is the conversations and the estimates they gave me, and just leave you with thinking that I think that the way I've rethought about how electric vehicles are becoming so prevalent, and I know Councilman Michaels even told me that there was a program to put them possibly in different 7-Elevens. And I was going to make my way over to the 7-Eleven in town to see if they might be getting one. But I think that it's just become so prevalent that our infrastructure, that in a not too distant future, people will be almost expecting to pull into places and charge cars. And I think that that's what I wanted to leave you with is I would like, and I know Councilman Menon's hands up, but I would like to know if it's the type of, if we have enough people on the council who feel that we can proceed with Volta, or if you'd like to go in a totally different direction. Yes, Councilman Menon.
So I mean, for the most part, I agree with the Volta proposal, and I think we should go forward with that. But I just have a question. I know that, for example, New Jersey State, everybody's promoting, the charging stations. To some extent, and they have a grant available. It's not very high, so you're talking about for a $50,000 level 3 charging, it would be like a $4,000 grant, which pays absolutely nothing. But there's one called It Pays to Plug In, and I think there are others as well. But have you heard about any that are a little more beefier than just, you know.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think Jimmy can endorse what I'm saying, but we we've heard of a few things. We've explored a few things. Um, Sometimes, well, for example, some of the Jersey state grants, like they're only interested in putting like a fast charge along the turnpike in some of the places that are high traffic volume areas. But also we heard PSE&G was going to possibly be doing some of their own programs, but they really have given, I mean, for lack of the better word, like a bit of a runaround. It's just nothing's materializing and they're very low cost reimbursement. Jimmy, did you want to just speak to any of your experiences thus far? Because I know we've done a fair amount of looking.
Yeah, I did try and contact PSC&G, and I know some of it is kind of fluid, and these are becoming more and more available. More programs are becoming available. Fortunately, the one point of contact that the state has for PSC&G that they advertise is just simply just not being responsive. Unfortunately, there are what a good avenue might be good to pursue is that there are some vendors on state contracts. So we are able to purchase them that way, avoid bidding. So that's really the kind of the, if we were going to go a different route than Volta, that would be a good route to go. Just the ease of through a state co-op.
But I did also just want to say, of course, that what we were learning in some of our research. Um, my one thing is if we don't go with the Volta option, I don't know that any free options are necessarily going to be afforded to us because of two things possibly working against us. I think this is a timing thing. And if we're on the first wave, we have the option of taking, some advantage of Volta, for example. But then as this becomes more commonplace, I don't think that Tenafly would be getting to take advantage, at least not what I'm seeing. And of course, obviously, like I say, Volta thinks we're kind of a high trafficked area, it allows their business model to make sense to do advertising. I'm not sure that others would think we are all that high trafficked. Not that I want to, pull a plug on it, so to speak. But I just, we're a quaint small town, so I was kind of happy that they were interested in it and us, to be honest.
So just to put this out there, we've had, and thank you, Councilwoman O'Connor. Appreciate this
No
entire,
problem.
all your effort on the electric charges, which, as you know, you and I have talked a lot about, and I support the whole concept. So I think in terms of hierarchy of decisions, the council, if I could suggest, needs to decide, do we want to put electric chargers downtown? Right? That's the first decision. The second decision is, how do we want to do that? Do we want to go with a Volta? We've all heard a lot about it. Or do we want an alternative version where we're writing the checks ourselves with some grant money, perhaps? And then we can get, once we answer those kind of two general questions, then we can ask Jimmy to start putting together on paper. Okay, this is the grid, the pros, the cons, the costs, the savings, whatever it might be. But I think the first question here is, does the council want to move forward with electric charging stations, either at a borough facility and downtown? So I'd like to get some input from council members on that.
I see Councilwoman Dayton.
Please, Councilwoman Dayton.
So Julie, thank you for all your work. I feel strongly and will reiterate my comments for the last two times this has been presented, that I don't believe that this is the right character or feel for Tenafly. I was hoping that when you went back to Volta, that they were more willing to put the 10 televisions in spots that were not throughout our downtown, And I just don't feel, as you said, our small quaint town should be littered with advertising on TVs. I think it's too high of a cost. You say it's free, but to me, to ruin the character of a town is just too much. I have actually researched myself, ChargePoint, EV Connect, and PlugShare. And all three companies, yes, they are charging, but they also have options to charge the customer and have the borough receive part of that charge. And so while there's an initial onset of costs, it would also accumulate funds for the borough to maintain that station as the station's being used. And I just don't feel like we've explored it enough here. I'm not willing to sign up with Volta, and I understand the timing. I do feel that it's a wonderful option for larger areas like our Bergen County Zoo. And I'm so thankful that it's in places like that. But as for Tenafly, I just think it's unattractive. It ruins the picturesqueness of our downtown. Whether we like the look of the buildings or not is a whole nother thing. And that's individual building owners. But for us to pollute the town with TVs is too much of a trade-off for me. So again, I'm going to say this again. If Volta is willing to come and put the TVs in more confined parking lots, where we have commuter parking or other places, I am all for hearing it. And it doesn't seem like they're willing to make that compromise here.
So Lauren, my first question goes to the issue of not so much about Volta. Is do we want some sort of charging stations downtown and at borough facilities? And then I agree with you when you say we have to get into the weeds with whether it's Volta or we just write our own checks, because there's pluses and minuses. But so the central question is, in order to start going down a road, I mean, it sounds like you like the idea of charges downtown, but you don't in particular like the Volta model that they presented. Am I accurate in that statement?
Well, Julie's absolutely right that this is where we need to head. I mean, she's 100% right on this initiative, and I thank her so much for it. And, while I'm not loving the company's offer here, it has nothing to do with Julie, and she's right. This is the wave. This is environmentally friendly. More car companies are moving in this direction, and she's done that research and that good, strong work. I think having that longer term charge, Julie's correct, will attract the people who we need to come downtown and shop our businesses and utilize our restaurants. That's a great idea. So yes, I'm interested in electric charging. I'd like to see, again, if Volta would be more flexible before I'd say yes to them.
And that's a fair yes, but I agree. You're not agreeing to Volta details to follow. I understand. Okay. All right. Other council members. Jeff, Adam, is everybody?
I see Venu's hand again. I see Jeff's
Venu,
hand.
go ahead, please. I'm sorry, I'm just picking names on.
To your direct question, I completely agree. We should be looking into options to bring electric charging to town. So that's
okay.
Direct response.
Right, and it's not an endorsement of Volta, just so everyone's clear. Right. Okay, Adam, you're on.
I agree as well. Actually, one thing, if we want to jump ahead, is I wonder if we could start. I love what Julie got us, which is for our borough vehicles. I wonder if we could start that tomorrow. I wonder if we could poll the council and do we all agree that our town vehicles, we should lead by example, and we should A, start buying those vehicles, and 2, get the charging stations up and running tomorrow. I'd do that tomorrow. I don't know what my other council people feel.
Council members, Jeff, you were going to speak next, I believe.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that 100% the concept of bringing electric vehicle charging to the town, and to council member Michael's point, we've been trying for years to go in that direction, and it's about time we do it. I do know there's some limitations through buying co-ops and police cars and all that, but we have talked about it for some of these vehicles that we need for inspectors, and that should be one of our goals, to get that. So we do need a charging station for doing that. I'm all for it.
Dan, can you, thank you, Jeff. Dan, you want to weigh in? Dan, are you there? He's on mute.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute the whole
Yes,
time.
go ahead,
Yes
go ahead.
to,
Yep.
yes to chargers and yes to Adam's idea.
Okay. All right. So Jimmy,
So
you've heard.
Mark,
Go ahead.
before we put a pin in it though, I would like to maybe then talk tonight about the Volta thing, because, you know, to see if the discussion's going to go there, because we should let them know one way or the other. I kind of want to know where the council's at with that, but I also want to make sure I'm clear in how I describe that. A couple main things that you're never going to recover cost. That's important for everyone to know. You're never going to recover the cost. You're going to have a person in your town who's responsible for it, for the network. And, you know, I just want to know, like, do we have a majority or an equal amount of people who want to proceed with discussions with Volta specifically?
Okay. So let me address that a little bit. A couple of things. One is the council, it sounds like all 6 of you unanimously want to put some sort of charging stations downtown. And there's support also for our municipal vehicles and wherever we might put those charging stations to be determined. So that's step number one. So that's a huge win because we're all on the same page and moving it forward. The next step that has to happen is Jimmy has to, the council, and I'm not trying to speak for anyone here, but just from experience, the council is not going to make an economic decision without details in front of them, right? So while I understand all the benefits of Volta, everything comes with a cost, whether it's you're writing a check or you have to make a commitment to something. So I think it's incumbent on Jimmy to put together a spreadsheet, and perhaps I can ask that you work with him on that. So that all the different...
Jimmy's been on all the calls, but Jimmy, do you want to just say, like, you know, how much we've been waiting on? I mean, you know,
Well,
that's the frustrating thing by these people that want our money.
Yep. So well, then Jimmy has to articulate that in writing so that we can see what the spreads are and what the differences are. Because if we go out and we purchase electric charging, you know, equipment, that has to go out to bid. There has to be real numbers attached to it. And I think the council, before the council can make a decision, yes or no, about Volta, and if any of the council members disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. I think the council needs to see the different options, and then the team can make a decision.
Benu's hands up.
Who does? Benu?
Councilman Menon.
Oh, Councilman Menon, please.
You're on mute.
May I just ask a quick question about how long would the contract with Volta, if we went with them, how long would that be?
So I think that's a point of discussion, because in one of their original slides, they said 10 years, but then Gerald over at the county said they got it for 5 years. So I don't 100% know if that's, like, you know, written in stone. I think that'd be part of the negotiation. Also, there just when Jimmy is gathering it up, and Jimmy, you know, definitely let everyone know what you've been learning. But we also had learned that there's administrative costs for maintaining that would maintain the network too. So, like, you know, people just have to be very clear on all the hidden charges that might occur if we go down the road of paying ourselves. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it might be beneficial to have, we spoke with ChargePoint a couple weeks ago. So I think it might be beneficial for them to come, just as Volta did, come assess the areas downtown, the areas that we are looking to install the charging stations, and then be able to provide us with soup to nuts, everything that would go into it, cost. They did not come at our direction. They did not come. We just wanted a general conversation, brief conversation, to get a general sense of how that partnership would look like. and the maintenance and operations of the charging stations. They did ask if we wanted them to come look and to give us actual hard numbers. So I think at this point that would probably be appropriate to provide the mayor council, and I could arrange that for them to come in and go through the downtown and look at our various areas.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Jimmy. And then we present the council with all the details and the options and the math attached to it, and then they can make a decision. But it sounds like, I mean, clearly, not that it sounds like, I mean, it's actual. Everyone supports putting stations downtown. Now the devil is in the details.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening.
Of course, no. Julie, thank you for all the work and effort that you put into this. It's very important, and it's about the future, and it's coming very quickly.
It's coming, yeah.
Right?
Mayor?
Yes.
May I
Go
also
ahead.
ask if Jimmy is going to present additional information? There's two other national companies. One is called EV Connect. The other is called Plug Share. I mean, we might as well figure out what everyone's offering, and at least the major companies, and then we can have a good cost comparison. And then I think it would be helpful to see what people are offering and how they're offering it.
Okay. Jimmy, let's try to get this teed up. I know it's a short window. Let's try to get this teed up for the next council meeting,
Yeah, absolutely.
so we don't drag this out.
Yep, no problem. You said, Council President Dayton, you said EV Connect and Plug Share?
PLUG, but again, I don't want to limit it. If you know of others, please include them.
No, yeah, I'll come back with a few options, a couple different vendors.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. Okay. Item C, to be considered the Juneteenth flag raising. I know, Jimmy, we're doing that this Saturday, June 19th.
That's up for discussion, Mayor. I wanted I wanted to make clear and have the council be aware that depending on the location that they choose, if it is Hyler to be raised there, I just would like the council to decide on the dates for the flag raising and how long it would be raised for. Just the one major consideration to keep is that flagpole in Hyler could only hold two flags. So one being the American flag, and currently the other flag up there is the pride flag. So I want to be mindful for the mayor and council to, in making that decision in this conversation.
Comments from the comments, concerns, questions from the council. Councilman Grossman, please.
So, last year it was a little easy because we put the Juneteenth flag up in July, and there was no competition between that and Pride flag. I do think that we can explore some other great locations for the Juneteenth flag. Also, last year we borrowed a flag, I believe, from Assemblyman Johnson. I don't know if we even have one available to put up.
I apologize. I just to fill you in, a Juneteenth flag was donated to the borough for in perpetuity by the Black and Latino Parents Association of Tenafly. So I just want them to be recognized and thank them for that. They did donate it this week.
Thank you for pointing that out, and thank you to that group. That's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that. I believe, and I'm not positive because I haven't really checked out, but by Peace Plaza, I'll get this right, by Peace Plaza, I believe, which is a very, very visible spot, and also Oresco, there are flag poles. I just would rest about taking one flag down when we have other locations that are highly visible and just as honored. And now that's a state holiday, actually flying it in and around Borough Hall would almost make sense as a state holiday and the flag going up there. So that's my 2 cents.
Comments from other council members? Thank you, Councilman Grossman. Okay.
Mayor?
All right. Yes,
Mayor?
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Councilman Dayton. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
That's okay. I would reiterate and thank Jeff Grossman for the suggestion to do it at Peace Plaza or even Oresco. I know the Pride Committee feels very strongly they'd like to fly the Pride flag for the month of June, in honor of the whole month. So I I'm very thankful someone donated the flag this year. I look forward to raising it, and I would second a different location than Hyler.
Yeah, the council members would like to weigh in. Thank you, Council President Dayton.
Hi, Mark.
Yes, Vanu. Councilman Menon.
It's fine. I think, you were asking about how long we'd like to keep it up as well. I think we should, last time it was, I know we did it in a very hurried fashion in July, and we took it down within a day or two. I think it really deserves to be up for if not a week, 2 weeks. I would suggest that.
What is the request from the group raising it? Because don't they have to make a time, place, date restriction? I mean, don't they have to make a specific request?
I don't know if it's that official, really. Jimmy, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I would agree. I haven't. They did not make any requests. Just I only told them that I would get back to them with information up to when we would arrange for the flag raising.
Why don't we do this, Jimmy? Because it's a good question. Reach out to the donor you've been communicating with directly, and get what has been, although the practice time isn't that long, what's been the practice of how long it flies for, and maybe reach out to some communities that are flying it and see what they traditionally do, so we have a little guidance out there.
Okay, so but is it safe to say it would be this Saturday? I mean, I could arrange with them, but it would be this Saturday for the ceremony.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, the state is recognizing this Friday. The state of New Jersey recognizes this Friday as a state holiday. So I'm certainly open to whether we raise the flag this Friday or this Saturday. Councilman Grossman?
Councilman Grossman, yeah.
Yeah, so, Juneteenth actually celebrates the last town in Texas to be affected by the Emancipation Proclamation, and it occurred on June 19th, which is Saturday. I know the state holiday because of state offices, but the actual celebration date and officially recognized date would be Saturday. And I think last year we had it up for a week, but I'm not sure. I know we had, maybe less because Assemblyman Johnson needed it back, right?
Yeah, Councilman Menon is correct. It only flew for a day or two because the Assemblyman needed the flag back as was borrowed. But we're fortunate this year. We don't have to concern ourselves with the timing of returning anything now.
I mean, certainly a week is very appropriate for that, but I would, if we can, do it on the 19th.
I'm fine with that.
Is this in the morning, the ceremony, 9 a.m., 10 a.m.? Can someone give me a clue?
Well,
I coached softball that day.
Can you give us 48 hours to pick a time, and then we'll share that with everyone? I mean, typically we do flag raisings in the afternoon, don't we, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, correct.
Right. So it would likely follow the same pattern.
And Mayor, if I can make a suggestion, I mean, it might be for the duration, and prior to consulting with the group that donated the flag, maybe both flags could be through July 2nd, so just before 4th of July on that Friday before that weekend, or right after that weekend, to be taken down. So that might be an appropriate amount of time for both respective flags.
Okay. All right. So do a little more homework in terms of custom, and we'll raise it this Saturday at a time to be determined that everyone will be informed of. And I'll certainly include that in the mayor's message this Friday. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that. Thank you, Jimmy. Item D, Davis Johnson Food and Alcohol Waiver for TVAC. Jimmy, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there was a request from TVAC for their, I believe it's their award ceremony, to have at the Davis Johnson facility, where usually food and alcohol is prohibited, to make an exemption for their award ceremony. So that's what they're seeking.
Comments? Is everyone okay with this, council members, or do we have any comments? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing any objections, Jimmy, so it sounds like that is approved.
As long as they drink responsibly.
Of course.
There you go.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, cannabis ordinance zoning.
That would be me.
Go ahead, Councilman Park.
Just wanted to touch base with the council that we should actually start looking at this a little more in depth since our deadline is coming up. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but there's a lot of stuff that we have not even touched on, such as zoning. Where should each of these licenses be zoned? How late should they stay open? All that stuff. I was wondering if we can get that discussion going sometime soon.
Well, to this point, should we be planning a public hearing? We should probably be planning a public hearing on this. But Jimmy, what do you think, council members? Wendy?
So as far as the requirements, it would be a zoning ordinance. So there would be, since it's an ordinance, the second reading would automatically have a public hearing. You're free to engage the public, obviously, ahead of that, but certainly there's a public hearing involved with any ordinance.
So,
Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, so my understanding is, Wendy, you can tell me if I'm wrong, is that, we pass the, if we pass the ordinance, the zoning and everything can come afterwards as a consideration, correct? We don't have to do the zoning before or have discussions about it beforehand.
No, the ordinance would be the zoning.
Oh, okay.
You're either going to prohibit by ordinance or you're going to pass a zoning ordinance that gives the guidelines of where it's permitted and what is permitted.
Well, what I mean by that is, in terms of location, all of those considerations with the planning board can come after.
No.
Oh, okay.
That would be the permissive ordinance.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So that little detail there alone puts some should light a fire under us in terms of Wendy. What is the process? What should the public hearing look like? How soon can we have it? What kind of background homework needs to be done so the council can make an informed choice?
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I know that, a few of us were on the cannabis committee, and as you've been very effective with the messages about collecting the public comment, and we've been getting a lot of public comment. So I think that the reason we were doing all that, because it was just one piece of many considerations, was because we were aware that by around this time or by the end of June, am I right, Councilman Grossman, we were going to be proceeding with actually, voting to not have it proceed or letting it proceed. So Councilman Grossman, you were very, passionate about getting the public comment, eliciting the public comment. So, what was the timing of all of it? Because we were on this committee, so.
So we need, for an ordinance, we need 2 hearings, or at least 2 readings, not hearings. But there, correct me if I'm wrong, can we solicit comments at the first reading? Can we make that kind of part of the process so that we can keep this moving and not have a hearing and then first reading and then a second reading, because we'll run into time issues.
Right.
So on a procedural level, you do not have public comment on an ordinance at the first reading, which is essentially just to introduce it, because then that's when you would give your advertisement of when the public hearing is and put the public on notice of when it is that they can come to speak. So you could always add to your agenda a public comment portion that's specific to feedback on cannabis. However, I would caution that doing it at the meeting where you're already introducing an ordinance would be too late if that's the route that you want to take. Because if you're going to make changes, now you're going to have to amend the ordinance and reintroduce it at the next meeting. And then you still need another meeting for the public hearing for the ordinance as amended. So, you already did include it at the last meeting, a request for public to participate out of the mayor's message to receive public comment. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the fact sheet for request for cannabis comment still is requesting comment through right before your next council meeting. And the idea was so that the group could have a bit of knowledge of the feedback of the community before the council meeting on the 29th, so that July is, in gear for introduction and adoption. Well, actually, introduction, you only have one meeting in July, and adoption in August. So
the deadline for public comment on that fact sheet is June 23rd.
Okay, so it's the week before your next meeting. So that gives you a little bit of time to digest the information that you can, as a council, decide what the path is to go forward at the June 29th meeting.
Okay,
My
so
point-
that's the
hold on.
procedure. Go ahead, Dan.
But my point is that within that week, there is, so right now, the way we're timing this, we have to say no because we're going to miss the deadline because we're not ready to say yes. So I want to get started on the yes part so we're ready in time, regardless of which way we go. Yes, we allow this stuff. We're not even ready to say it because we haven't zoned, we haven't looked into timing, we haven't even discussed it. We're actually behind the ball in that aspect. We're right now, we're teed up to say no already because of timing alone. So I would like to get this on ACE or discuss this more as soon as possible.
Well, it's sounding from what Wendy is saying is that the next council meeting in June is the council has to make a decision essentially to move forward or not. Is that correct, Wendy?
Yes, at least to give direction as to how you want the ordinance drafted.
Right. So if the council, if all 6 council people decide to move forward, I'm just making sake of argument here. If all 6 council people decide to move forward, and at the next June meeting, then you're going to have an ordinance prepared for them for the meeting in July.
And we have to decide by, again, we have a meeting on July 20th, and then it could be a first reading, and then we have a meeting on August 10th, which would be the final reading.
Correct.
Correct. And so if the council decides, if all 6 council people decide not to move forward with this at the June meeting, then there is no ordinance or introduction, or we still have to
No, we
do
still
an
have
ordinance.
Still need it.
Still
Yes,
doing
we
an
need
ordinance for no.
Correct.
Okay, right, okay,
That ordinance is a lot easier to draft, so
of course,
would
of course.
require less feedback from the council to give me on the particulars of what Dan's mentioning. If I may, there is some guidance of zoning areas, at least if you look at what happens if you do nothing at all, that then there's conditional allowed uses in certain zones for certain licenses. That should be the jumping off point of where you look at zones for those licenses if you were to allow them. Obviously, you're not going to have a retail establishment in a residential area. That there's no way that would be consistent with your master plan. So you're looking at more of retail areas for the cannabis retail license, or perhaps even a delivery company, and more of an industrial zone for any of the other licenses of distribution, wholesaling, et cetera, et cetera. But certainly you may want to begin to engage your planner to look at what properties are available, what zones are available, and give you a little bit of guidance as to what it would look like if it was to be allowed.
Can we get that all for next meeting?
Wendy, I think Dan just said.
I'm sorry, Dan, I
Question?
didn't hear you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Would that be, can we get that all ready for next meeting so we can get this ball rolling?
Well, that's a council decision to direct the planner to do such work. Certainly, if that's how council feels, I'm sure you can direct Jimmy to reach out to your planner and start the process.
So this is
Oh.
a bit of a chicken and an egg somewhat, in the sense that we need to get more information to council members for them to make a decision. I mean, this is just one piece of it. The public comments, the second piece of it. So, but we need the planner this soon.
Oh, absolutely. If there's going to be any businesses moving forward, then you certainly need feedback from your planner.
Yes, but the problem with this, it's like you said, perfect analogy, the chicken and the egg. And I hear what Dan is saying, but it also is the type of thing where if the majority of the council didn't want to do it at this time, then aren't we kind of spending money for the planner to make a plan for something we're not going to be doing? You know what I mean? Like that's where
I
I
don't think you need a plan yet, but perhaps a map with just circles over, license A,
Zone.
license B, just letting you know what zoning areas would be consistent with your master plan.
Okay. So one of the things here is, before we go down the road of spending money, perhaps I could suggest to Jimmy that you have a conversation with our planner to have an understanding from him or her what the scope of something like this is. Is it something that can be done in a week or two? And what kind of dollars are we talking about for the council? So if we have that question at least answered and prepared for the council at the June meeting, we'll be able to either pull the trigger or not pull the trigger. I think that's a reasonable request of the planner.
Can I make a
Go ahead,
suggestion for that request? Just have the zones ready for us on the June meeting. If it's our planner, we should be ready for it.
Well, everything, all I'm saying with that is everything, if we call the planner tomorrow morning, everything we do with the planner costs money. The one thing that doesn't cost money is getting a proposal to say what it's going to cost and what the scope is and how long it's going to take. And I think that's we certainly can't agree to engage a planner without knowing what it's going to cost us. So I think if we get that part first, that gives us, we've got something done.
Yeah, that sounds like a good course.
Does everyone agree with that? And then at the June meeting, we'll have a real heart-to-heart discussion about this whole topic. Okay. All right. Thank you to the Cannabis Committee for your continued work on this. We appreciate it. We all do. Okay. All right, Jimmy, you're on. It's administrator's report time.
Thank you, Mayor. Under personnel, over 20 letters of interest and resumes were submitted for the vacant HR manager position. The hiring group has conducted first round interviews with 4 candidates. Final interviews will be conducted with the full mayor and council with 3 of those candidates. We've confirmed for this Thursday evening, so that's when we'll conduct the final interviews. Under the 2020 Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund, the county commissioners approved the grant award for the borough for Oresco Park, pathway with pavers, benches, and landscaping project. So we just listed we were provided with the schedule for this project, so I just want the council to be aware of that schedule. Roosevelt Monument authorization to bid for this project will be considered at tonight's meeting, with the anticipated date for receiving bids being July 9th. For various culverts repairs.
Wait, Jimmy?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I couldn't get my mute off. I'm just trying to figure this out. What time on Thursday evening? Well, I guess we could talk about this later, but what time, and will it be by Zoom?
It's going to be in person, McCandless, between 6 and 9 p.m.
I can't make it. Okay. We'll talk later.
Yeah. Various culverts repairs on Q Technologies has begun the repair of the culverts. Actually, this has been completed at this point. They just need to be inspected. So they completed their project with the culverts on Bliss Ave, Birchwood Place, West Clinton Ave, and Westerville Ave. So this has been completed. It's just on, we're closing it out, doing the inspections. The Central Business District Drainage Culvert, National Main Water Cleaning Company is mobilizing, coordinating with various utility companies to complete this work. This should be done by the end of June. The 2019 Bergen County Open Space Grant, Walnut Park Playground Improvements. A color scheme for the playground was chosen by the mayor and council and submitted to manufacturer. The equipment is anticipated to be installed in late summer, early fall. 2021 Riverside Co-op pre-construction meeting was held with the contractor, and this work is anticipated to begin midsummer. I think we were looking at in about 4 weeks. We were looking at mid-July for this work to be done. Fister's Pond hydro raking. Bids for this project were received on May 13th. One bid was submitted by TR Weninger Inc. for a base bid amount for $312,000 and alternate bid A in the amount of $36,000 additional. The borough engineer recommends the award of the base bid plus alternate bid A in the total amount of $348,000 to TR Weninger. I believe that is on for tonight. And this came in under budget, which is why they're recommending with the alternate bid A with the additional $36,000. And the pre-construction meeting for that is tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. at the Nature Center. The capital budget as it relates to the administration department. In general, for the capital budget, a stop-up period for the capital budget concluded last week. Funding for all capital projects are now available. Part of this funding includes adding a data rack in the server room, updating and improving the Wi-Fi in the municipal building, and purchasing and installing equipment for the ability to conduct hybrid meetings in the council chambers. We have submitted and engaged with the IT and the various. I mean, we had this already coordinated. We had now just made the purchase orders because the funds became available to begin this project. So we have ordered the data switch. So this will allow for expanding our IT infrastructure, which is to include, again, improving the Wi-Fi in the building, updating it, and then also expanding it in the canvas room. And then also with the ability to add the hybrid meeting cameras in the council chambers. And cannabis
Sorry, Jimmy,
legislation.
what was the timing with that again? With the canvas room and everything?
So I don't have an exact timing. The equipment was submitted for purchase today. They should be shipping it hopefully soon, depending on availability. I mean, these contract, they have told us that they're waiting for us. So we did put in the purchase orders as the money just became available. So hopefully in the next week or two, these are vendors that we regularly use. So usually they have expedited shipping, so on and so forth. So we anticipate this to go pretty quick, but also it's a pretty involved project, which would include IT to come in and be able to work and do all these moving, the various moving parts with the kind of mini projects included in the major big project and all this.
So it's more realistic that next meeting is still virtual, and then hopefully maybe in July it becomes hybrid.
Yeah, I would hesitate to put a date on it at this point. With availability of just items in general being on backlog. I haven't heard from any of the vendors that any of these items are on backlog. So I hesitate to put a date, but I am confident that it would, that we're moving forward and there shouldn't really be any delays. It's just a matter of getting it and then arranging with IT to install it.
Okay. I just have so many Oreos right now, and Julie's son's just not picking up enough of them. So like, I need a venue to share them.
Understood.
Got my limited edition NBA Oreos there.
And last but not least, cannabis legislation. At the previous meeting on May 25th, I was asked to obtain information from surrounding municipalities on their stance of the legalization of cannabis within their municipality. I've listed the ones that I've engaged and asked what their status was. I've listed their response, and additionally, the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association has a running tally throughout the state with municipalities that responded. So that was also included, I believe, on the portal, the council login portal So provided that information with surrounding municipalities and other municipalities around the state just to get a general feel.
This one's really interesting. I want to make sure everyone's looking at it. Again, I'm not saying which side you go. I could tell you on both sides, certainly a lot of people hesitant, which obviously on the flip side makes lots of opportunity. I do know, Jimmy, you could add Old Tapan. I actually went to their council meeting last week, and they're going to vote against it most likely as well. So you could add that.
The kind of the general, a lot of municipalities, what they are doing is opting out and just seeing how the initial municipalities who opt in, just see how they handle it and how it goes for them, and then then with the thought of potentially opting in at a short time later on, potentially, depending on how everything goes.
I don't know how we best, I know Mr. Mayor is well connected throughout the country, but again, I wish I could tell you like this is the first time this has ever happened before and no one has a clue. Tons of people have a clue, right? It happens every single day in Colorado and California and Michigan. Like I don't know. I could figure it out how to find some friends or whatever, but I don't know if there's a double top secret mayors association that you could ask the mayor of Boulder and the mayor of Denver and see how it goes. Because again, this isn't new to the world, and we could easily find out how this is affecting either positively or negatively different towns and different cities.
So I'll take that advice, Councilman Michaels, and reach out to some neighbors that are out of state, some mayors that are out of state.
Love it.
And report back.
There you go.
And Mayor, one last item that wasn't included that just had come up in between last week. We had a DPW committee meeting last week, and one of the outstanding projects that was brought up was the water bottle filling stations. There was, I believe last year, $20,000 budgeted to add water bottle refilling stations. I believe it was $20,000, but I believe it was open-ended, or to my understanding, I just want to confirm with locations that to pursue and continue with this project, and since the funds are available, and it was said earmarked last year for this, so I'd like to continue to close out this project. I do have some notes on at the various parks and facilities what currently exists in terms of what's capable, easy, and what's not so easy to add. Just Roosevelt Commons in that area. There's potable water by the shed only over there. Sunnyside and Municipal Field have water at the building, so it'd have to be at all those three areas. They would have to be at the building or by the shed. Aresco does have piping there for potable water. Tyler does not. And then Davis Johnson does have piping at the building. So those are just some notes that I ran through with the DPW director on his thoughts and recommendations.
Councilwoman
Jimmy, you were supposed to. Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. Jimmy, you were supposed to look at Walnut.
I could ask about that.
Walnut was on the initial list when we had discussed replacing water fountains.
Okay. If one's currently there, then that's not an issue.
I just didn't know what state any of the plumbing was.
Yeah, if there's one existing there, I'm sure that wouldn't be a huge to do.
So I think Jimmy's kind of asking for some decisions tonight. In other words, we want to put one, so we can purchase two of these, correct, Jimmy?
It depends on the.
Is it, okay, so we don't have the economics in front of us, whether it's two or four, but let's assume it's either, okay? What are the top four locations the council would like to see these in? Walnut's one of them. Opinions?
Sunnyside.
Isn't it Sunnyside?
Sunnyside, I hear two for Sunnyside.
Tyler?
I would like.
Well, Hyler, there's no water hookup.
How's it? Is there a water fountain there?
There is.
It has to be.
Yeah.
I could double check, but my understanding it has to be potable water. So if it's a drinkable water fountain, I could double check.
It's definitely a drink. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry. There's definitely a water fountain. I would assume we'd offer it drinkable. That'd be pretty mean of us. I'm not guaranteeing you that, I've never tried it. So,
Yeah, I don't remember the last year that water fountain was turned on,
okay.
but there is a water line there. So we're talking about,
Okay.
so it looks like we're talking about Walnut, Sunnyside, Hyla, and we
Okay.
need one more suggestion.
I believe Muni Field for the bottle fillers, because again, this is the water fountain that is more environmentally friendly. And so we were trying to reduce plastic. People come through water bottles they can refill. So Municipal Field for all its sports.
Everyone good with those four choices? And then Jimmy will do the investigation to make sure it's all workable and report back.
Yep.
Whether it's,
The only
go
thing,
ahead.
the only thing I would say is, while I appreciate Walnut as a possible location, I would probably think a higher priority would be somewhere near the Roosevelt Commons, because you have tennis courts, you have people running the track, you have baseball, you have playgrounds there where I see water bottles left periodically. So I just think it's a higher trafficked area where this would have a greater need than Walnut. I know Walnut has some seasonal use, but this is probably a lot heavier usage.
Councilwoman Dayton?
So Jeff, I completely agree. Roosevelt is used more readily on year-round basis, but Walnut has absolutely no ability for children to receive any fresh water at all, whereas Roosevelt has connection to downtown, and now we'll have right across the field at Municipal. Walnut really is almost unsafe. If I'm playing softball with kids or soccer with my little kids and they get a cut, there's no water supply over there. And so I think, it's almost a health and safety issue down there, where there's no bathrooms, there's no really running water. There's a small water fountain that's, I believe, in existence that I'm not even sure runs. So in that sense, I feel like I'd love to do 5. So, if you want to add Roosevelt, I'm a yes on that, but I would really like to get one down at Walnut. I think that it's very, it's not a good situation over there when we play sports.
So Jimmy, you've heard 5 suggestions of locations from the council members. Okay. Let's find out the technical aspects of all 5 locations. And then if it turns out we can put water in all 5 locations, we'll simply ask the council to vote on the locations next council meeting.
I'll get that.
If it turns out only 4 locations are possible, then it becomes a fait accompli.
Yeah, I'll get that information on all the facilities and parks mentioned. No problem.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you for reminding us all about that.
While we're on the report, or just generally the Borough Administrator's report, the Oresco, Jimmy.
Yes.
When the original Oresco was done only a couple of years ago, there were plans for a pathway going from the monument to Washington Street, which is what this obviously is for. So I don't think, I know I'm 10 months ahead of myself, but make the note now, because 10 months goes by quickly, that there really doesn't have to be a whole ton of money spent on plans and specs. They should already exist.
Okay, no problem.
So just, if you can't find them, I can. I know I have a copy. So.
Okay, no problem. Noted.
Thank you.
All done with the administrator's report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so next we're moving on to correspondence. The first email is from Mr. Rath. You all have it in front. I'm sure you've all read it. And he's requesting refurbishing and pointing out that Chase Street needs refurbishing by the railroad tracks. Jimmy, have we made any progress or conversations with CSX on this one?
They too, unfortunately, are being unresponsive. The DPW director is keeping on top of them through 2 points of contact. And unfortunately, with the right of ways and the ownership and liabilities, we're pushing them very hard to address the issues.
So I'm going to ask a simple question: or a naive question? Are we able to go in, if we chose to, if the council chose to, could we go in and fix this crossing ourselves?
I would hesitate to say yes. I don't think we are. I don't think we are able to.
All right,
I
so
would say
let's,
advise against that.
I know, I had to ask the question, you know.
Just jumping in with the legal opinion.
Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Just may I ask a question? So I mean, I asked for this to be put on, but you know, to the my understanding from the DPW director was that you know, it was done by CSX once, and but they used some kind of a cold asphalt or whatever it was called, and then they and so he's been asking for them to use the hot, you know, version of whatever it is. But I guess my question is, is this, you know, a lot of the railroad crossings have this issue. Can we get not just J Street, but some of the others fixed as well at the same time?
We'd certainly make the request to them, of course. Anywhere within the borough, we'd ask them to address all those hazards. Yeah.
Right. I mean, instead of doing it piecemeal one at a time.
You know, Wendy, to Vanu's, to Councilman Mennon's question, Wendy, are there standards that I know, see, you know, the railroads have lots of freedom that we have no control over, but are there standards that they have to go by for maintaining crossings that maybe we're not aware of that would give us a little leverage here?
You know, Mayor, it's been a long time since I've had to look at the railroads, so I'll take a look and get back to you. Certainly for active railroads, I know that this railroad line hasn't been taken through the process to deactivate it on the federal level, but let me take a look and I'll get back to you.
Okay, that would be good to discuss for the next meeting. Thank you. Okay, the next correspondence is from Sharon Beck. I know regarding her trees, I know, Jimmy, there were issues with surveys and whose trees were on whose property. Do you have any information that you can update us on this, or is it still in the works?
I mean, the DPW director has determined that these trees do not belong to the borough. They belong, and the ownership is to the homeowner. So that's the dispute of to who it belongs to. And that's the short of it. Is the homeowner would like the borough to take responsibility and ownership for those trees. The DPW has looked back at their records and has not been able to verify, to find any documentation to indicate that the borough did put them there. They're not within any right of way that would have been done, that would have been followed. And it just the determination by the DPW director was that they're not borough owned. They were not placed there by the borough.
So just for edification, are these trees something that's, you know, 49% in the right of way, so technically they're the resident's property, or do you have any sense of if it's just simply clearly on the resident's property?
I believe they're pretty clearly on the resident's property.
Okay, so has this been communicated with the resident, or what's the current status?
Yes, yes, it has.
May I just
Yes,
ask? May I suggest that you know, we should follow the tree ordinance as it's stated, and you know, go into instead of discussing this. Yeah, I mean, we can discuss it on a general basis, but you know, I would say that if she has a particular issue, she should file a formal petition according to the tree ordinance. We've had a number of these before, and we keep saying that you know, they have to follow the directions.
Yeah,
Is the resident asking for them to be removed without cost? Is that the situation?
I'm not sure what I believe at the end goal is to remove them, but at this point, we're just simply trying to make the determination of ownership, responsibility.
Yeah, I think the intention here has always been to follow the tree ordinance and whatever the procedures are. We just had to get clarity on actually whose trees they were and where they were located.
Sure. I mean, I understand that. I'm just saying, I mean, I think my understanding is that we had a determination that it was actually on the resident's property. That was clearly laid out by the DPW director and the, you know, the tree department. So, at that point, it's up to the resident to then take it further, but not with the council, is what I'm suggesting.
Okay. The next correspondence is from Marcello Walker and Ryan Walker regarding the Center Islands over on Kenwood Road.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, it's Dr. Marcelo Walker. I have received and have sent into the full council numerous correspondence from residents at Kenwood Road. I guess there was some inkling amongst some of the residents that there was going to be a request to remove the center islands of trees and vegetation. And the Walkers, along with many of their fellow Kenwood residents, would like to oppose that request and to keep the center islands to beautify, to offer respite for walkers. There's benches in there for safety reasons with the children playing. And the point was made that trucks, garbage trucks, delivery trucks, moving trucks, they're able to navigate Kenwood at this time with no difficulty. And so they don't see any need to reduce the size or to change the traffic. And the council should have received numerous letters.
Yeah, actually, can I add a question about that? I'm glad that
Sure.
Councilwoman Dayton had gotten this feedback. I was a little confused because I didn't know what the consideration was with regard to removing them, because that was kind of the first I'd gotten introduced to it was through this objection.
So, Jimmy, is there any other detail about this other than the correspondence the council members and myself have received?
There's no other details other than just a group wanting it to be removed and others not wanting it to be removed. I believe I'm not sure if they believe there's advanced discussions. To my knowledge, there hasn't been, but
Okay.
I'm sure they're just chatter amongst the community, just relaying their opinion and their how they feel about the situation on the street.
Okay, so we'll, yes, go
Can I
ahead.
just confirm there's been no official request to either the council or the planning board at this time, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's conversations, but, I'm not sure how to define, we don't remove, center barriers and islands. I can't remember us ever doing that. So the official process would really start with the administrator, the DPW, and the police department if they had any issues, and the police have not raised any issues in terms of traffic here. And I think this has been that way for as long as Kenwood's been around.
And just for clarification, I've seen a number of the letters against it. I haven't seen any letters, or maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I never saw one for it either.
For it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so there
Only
is a
against.
resident or two on the northern end of the street that sometimes it could be challenging for them to maneuver in and out of their driveway. But I'm not sure how that works in terms, but there's been no request to have the police come over and kind of study that. And, so.
Can I make a request here? And this is in the vein of Councilman Grossman. If that request does become official to remove these barriers, can I ensure that notice is given to all the residents on Kenwood so that they have ample time to come join the conversation and voice whichever side they'd like?
Well, I think if there was any movement on that barrier, we would have a public hearing about that. That would be, a little bit uncharted, but major territory for us. So we would do that in a public forum and notice all the property owners as if it was a planning board zoning application. I think that would be appropriate and fair for the entire neighborhood to be part of it. So I would agree with you there. Okay, so Jimmy, please keep us apprised if that becomes more of a official going down the road thing, okay?
Yeah, just for some context, I believe there are some neighbors who've just called I don't know how many or in the degree, but just complain and express their general frustration. But I think that's all it's been.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Does anyone have any questions?
Is it possible to make a public comment on this issue briefly?
So we're going to have public comment actually very shortly in a few minutes. We just need to finish the rest of our business, then you'll be able to.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully I can go first. Thank you.
Yes, okay. And thank you. What is your name?
Mark, this is Jim Coyle.
Hey,
President
Jim, how you
with,
doing? Okay, I don't recognize everyone's voice, so, okay. All right.
Thanks.
You'll be first. Okay, so moving on, does anyone have questions about the resolutions? None? Oh, Councilwoman Dayton?
I do. I would like, I have two questions. One on the tree mitigation, and we've seen a couple of these. And, you know, I would like to know if the council is interested in having, or revisiting our tree mitigation ordinance. We see in many of these tree mitigation resolutions, you know, for example, there's a house that is required to replace 24 trees and they replace 2 or 3. And so clearly we're not protecting the trees as intended with this ordinance. And so I'd like, you know, as we go through these resolutions, to take a look at some of these and possibly consider later on in the evening under to be considered revisiting the language to make it stronger for tree protection. But the second question I have is on the unsighted liquor license at Lazaro, because I believe that business is no longer. So I'd like to know the status of that, if someone can give that to me.
Jimmy, do you know that one?
Sorry, Councilwoman, what was the question? You wanted to know the status?
There's an unsighted liquor license owned by Lazaro's, which is in one of the ordinances right now for us to approve, but that business no longer exists.
Pocket license,
Okay, so
right?
so it's a pocket license.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when they're unsighted, each time when it's time for a liquor license renewal, they will unsighted or a pocket license, they will have to pay a $200 fee to the state, and then they'll have to pay the municipal fee. But they're not issued a liquor license per se. They'll just keep that liquor license active.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that business that allegedly is holding on to this is now defunct, no longer in existence as a business. And so we have an inappropriate, I shouldn't say inappropriate, I don't know, and maybe Wendy, you can help me out here. Somebody is holding a liquor license that no longer exists.
So it's two different issues, and I think I might be confused in how you're asking it. So I'm going to restate just to make sure. Lazaro's might have been the sign on the wall of where that license previously was located. However, the owner is R Square and R Square Corp. So it was doing business as Lazaro's, but the ownership of the underlying corporation would still have to be in existence in order for them to make their application to the state to keep the pocket license.
But they're no longer DBA Lazaro's, so how does that work, and should we be approving this tonight?
It would still be under the R Square and R Square Corp.
So the ownership matters, not the DBA.
Correct. Because what matters is who are the entities that comprise that ownership. That's who gets studied and who has to pass the background checks, etc. So it's not the DBA, it's literally who comprises that corporation and ownership.
Thank you for that clarification.
Just for fun, since Councilman Dayton brought it up, so Bottle King's approved, right? They're going to need a retail license?
That would be a plenary license, right? So it's not. It's a
retail distribution.
Distribution. Thank you.
Right.
Right.
So is there a fifth one, or right now we only have 4 on here? We have Tenafly Fine Foods, Wine Cellar, R Squared, which was just discussed, and then Amin Van Dana.
I don't know that answer. I don't know if they are under contract to buy a license or where they have their license from, but they will need to have a license that is in effect before they can open their doors.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Always like to learn.
Okay. Any questions about the minutes? No? Any questions about the public hearing? Okay, for the good of the order. Councilwoman Dayton?
Yes, so I'm going to go back to see if I have any other interest in revisiting our tree ordinance.
Council members?
Yes,
Councilwoman O'Connor?
yeah, no, that it's definitely something that you know, I've been looking at as well. Clearly, we want to make sure that mitigation is in place that's appropriate, and you know, we relay a lot of factors, you know, weigh a lot of factors, and also to Councilman Menon's point that when there's appeals that those procedures are followed accurately. So there's like things that are even in the ordinance that aren't necessarily followed now, and then things that can be tightened. So there's already been discussions I've had, and definitely an ongoing thing.
Okay, any other council members have questions, comments about the tree ordinance, or we'll put it on the next council meeting to be considered for discussion? And perhaps, Omar, if you can distribute a copy of the tree ordinance to the council members and myself as it currently stands, so they have it available to them for the next meeting?
Okay, Mayor. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other items for the good of the order? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to the regular public meeting. And if everyone is so inclined, we'll go straight to the public meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Okay, wonderful.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to read the Open Public Meetings Act statement, and we'll begin the public meeting. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are posted, the meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Omar, could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dayton.
Here.
Councilmember Grossman.
Present.
Councilmember Menon.
Here.
Councilmember Michaels.
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
here.
Councilmember Park.
Here.
Mayor Zinner.
Here. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 25th, 2021?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second,
Second.
Roll call, please.
Voice vote.
Sorry, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, Omar. Wendy, are there any revisions to the agenda?
There are, Mayor, and it's going to be a little confusing, so I'm going to try to explain it. We had 3 resolutions that came a little bit later due to the need for additional information for finance. And those need to be on today's agenda because of timing issues with estimated taxes. So those resolutions, which were distributed to all the council members separately in advance of the meeting, will be resolutions 249, 250, and 251. So they are typically consent agenda resolutions. So what will happen is the consent agenda is going to be resolutions 228 through 247 and 249 through 251. Resolution 248 will be considered separately, as that is to adopt the municipal budget. Did I confuse you enough? You're on mute, Mayor.
Thank you. No, I've learned to take notes, so I've got a good opportunity to get this right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. Audience members wishing to speak have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Please, whoever's speaking, welcome, and please state your name and your address. And Jim, you're going to go first, please.
Thank you, Jim Coyle, 14 Kenwood Road. It's been a little bit of a while since I attended any of these meetings. It does go on for a while, so I'd like to just thank all of the volunteer mayor and council for all the time you put in, each of these meetings. It needs to be recognized from time to time. It won't take anywhere near the 3 minutes, but for the Kenwood Road issue, that I would suggest that it be referred to the environmental issue. It's an environmental resource. I'm just walking down there, as we frequently do. My dog, myself, my wife, my kids, that I don't know where it came from, but there's a sign up on one of these islands that says Monarch Butterfly Refuge Area. So it's a very nice area, and I just sort of saw that sign. But it's an environmental resource, and if it's considered at all, my recommendation is it should be referred to the Environmental Commission. Also, there's a historical aspect to the development of Tenafly with those islands there. So they could be referred to the historical committee as well. And then we just heard about it, I believe, yesterday, and it was sort of reported to us that it was farther along. It was basically approval impending to do this. So it sounds like that wasn't the case, but there were comments, like when you do something like this, there were comments from the people who discussed that the public should be involved, the residents on Kenwood Road. So I support all those sentiments for this issue and any similar issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim, for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other members of the public who would like to speak, please? Do we see any hands, Omar? We can't see everyone, so if anyone would like to speak. Yes?
Aki Benjamin has his hand.
Go ahead. Aki, how you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm Aki Benjamin. I'm doing well, thank you. My address is 57 Evergreen Place. I'm 12 years old. I'm in 6th grade, and I want change. A part-time Tenafly, so I know how great a town Tenafly is. There's an amazing library, a full government, great stores, and a community. Over the past few weeks, I've been learning about the history of Tenafly, and I've read every book about Tenafly in the Tenafly library that one can check out. I have learned that in Tenafly, some streets are named after people who are war heroes and founding fathers of Tenafly, or famous Tenafly doctors who would otherwise be forgotten. Unfortunately, there are also streets named after people who trained Confederate generals, were slave merchants, or were just racists and or sexists. In the words of former Vice President Al Gore, how dare they drag the good name of the United States of America through the mud. That is why I am proposing that the park at the Old Tenafly Swim Club be renamed Elizabeth Cady Stanton Park. Ms. Stanton was a resident of Tenafly from 1868 to 1887. Some of her most active as a suffragist in the Elizabeth Cady Stanton House, now an official National Historic Place, which is located at 135 Highwood Avenue. Renaming the Old Tenafly Swim Club Elizabeth Cady Stanton Park would make there be more places in Tenafly named after people who did good things for the nation. Ms. Stanton, important suffragist in the women's rights movements of the late 1800s to early 1900s. She was president of the National Women's Suffrage Association and of the National American Women's Suffrage Association. She even attempted to vote in modern-day Tenafly in 1880, before Tenafly was a borough. Ms. Stanton also organized the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention and was the primary author of the convention's Declaration of Sentiments. She was also the primary author of the first 3 volumes of The History of Women's Suffrage and of the Women's Bible. Renaming the park would bring a sense of pride to the community, as we would know that someone who lived in Tenafly impacted the nation and the world in a positive way. Now, I know some of you may know that Miss Stanton used some elitist and racially condescending language while campaigning for women's rights, but with the help of her friends abolitionist Frederick Douglass and fellow suffragist Susan B. Anthony. She realized her wrongs and publicly apologized. I'm not quite sure if the park has any official name other than the old Tenafly Swim Club site, and I hope everyone agrees that we should rename the park Elizabeth Cady Stanton Park. Thanks everyone for giving me time to speak, and a special thanks to Mayor Zena and Council Members Grossman or Michaels for help and Michaels for.
Well done, sir. Really well done.
Well done, Akai, and thank you for your passion on that one. This topic is something council members and I are talking about in terms of what do we name the park. So your timing, as they say, is impeccable. So I know that Councilwoman Dayton would like to say something, but thank you, Akai, for being here tonight. We appreciate your energy. Councilwoman Dayton.
Thank you.
And I see also Councilman Grossman's hand is up, so it's okay. I'll pass it to him next. I just wanted to thank you. We were supposed to do a huge event in 2020 for women suffragists and, of course, highlight our own Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And so, I want to thank you for your bravery in speaking tonight, your poise, and your educational words. So we absolutely will consider this. We will discuss it as we continue, but we hope that your voice continues to be part of the discussion. And Jeff, I'll turn it to you.
Okay, thank you. That was very well done, very well stated. I know that the council in the past has discussed a name for the dog park. Now, that does not necessarily mean that the old swim club site, which I am tired of calling it that, would rather call it Elizabeth Cady Stanton, doesn't mean that any element within the park has to then lose that identity. Because within Roosevelt Commons, for example, we have Griffith Park. And so there's no reason we can't name the park one thing and have elements within another. That's one thing I would like to make clear. There's plenty of names to go around. Speaking of plenty of names to go around, Mr. Benjamin's original email had to do with Walnut Park, and we should really be looking at the names of some of these more generic locations. We have had an incredible number of famous people in Tenafly, from Glenn Miller, the big band era, to Dr. Apgar, who anybody who's had a baby knows that the Apgar test is what every baby is measured by the moment they're born, and she lived on Engle Street. So I do like this suggestion, and I appreciate it, and I think we should pursue at least investigating this site as a starting point. Thank you.
Dr. O'Connor, did you have your hand up before?
No, I just wanted to thank, just a great speech and a lot to consider. And I'm very, very excited to vote for this. And, the past is prologue, and I'm always learning new things about Tenafly every day. And Elizabeth Cady Stanton, the more you read about her, the more impressive she is. And she did it with all these kids too. She had a whole bunch of kids at the same time as she was fighting for suffrage. So definitely a rock star. So thank you very much.
So would the council like to put this on an agenda to be considered for the next meeting? It looks like I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking.
I'd be in favor of that, sure.
The only thing that I would bring up is, and I would love, first of all, I love this, and I'd love to name something out of Elizabeth for Elizabeth case. And the only concern that I have for the old dog park, which has such an amazing name, is I know this council is looking at doing something pretty dramatic in that area. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know, is it a park? Is it this? I don't know if it's Elizabeth Cady Community Center, which I will be pushing for. So my only hesitation is tomorrow naming it Elizabeth Cady Stanton something, and then realizing that we want to put just a bee garden there for the entire space, and nothing is allowed there but bees. That's a possibility also. So that's my only hesitation for this one. though I would certainly commit that we would find an important place in town to celebrate Elizabeth Cady Stanton, without a doubt.
All right, yes, Councilwoman Dayton.
And I just want to say, the 19th Amendment Committee and the HPC, as many of you know, we're looking to commission a statue of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and that's still a possibility if we can raise some funding. That we get in touch with numerous artists. So if that comes, along, it might make sense then wherever the statue goes to name that space accordingly. We love this idea. I think we just have to find the right space.
Okay, so let's, sounds like everyone's in agreement. Let's add it to be considered as an agenda item for the next meeting. Omar and Jimmy, okay? You guys got that?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Okay. Thank you again, Akai. We appreciate it. Any other public comments? Anyone out there would like to make a comment, please?
Mayor Dennis? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Great. Hi, Christine Ebron, 39 Leroy Street, Tenafly.
Hi, Christine.
Hi. Two related comments. One, you're spending a lot of time on electric infrastructure downtown in public places that is sort of off the hook. Stop and Shop, 7-Eleven, the Clinton Inn, and I know the car dealerships are all putting in private infrastructure. All of our gas stations are private infrastructure. Giving away parking spots downtown, even though some years from now, probably all the cars are going to be electric, to electric cars for charging when most cars are not necessarily going to charge because they are close to town. I don't know that this is a function that the municipality really needs to get in. And in fact, it seems to have led to a delay in something that we knew was coming, which is this cannabis ordinance. And in a considered opinion to not bring in cannabis, I can understand it, but there are a lot of potential tax dollars that just by postponing it, if we were to go down the route of accepting cannabis sales in town, we're delaying those tax dollars. I think you can focus your attention a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. Other comments from members of the public? No, Jimmy, excuse me, Omar. Go ahead.
I see no other hands, Mayor.
No other hands. Okay. Jimmy, let's have you and I have a sidebar tomorrow offline about the comment Ms. Ebron made about some of the businesses that may be putting in charging stations. I'd like to just do a little, you and I, some phone calls and homework on that so we understand what's going on there.
All right.
And as like Councilwoman O'Connor said, I know 7-Eleven is doing a major push on it. I've read the materials, and I'm not sure about Stop and Shop, but I'll hold it's a big company. I bet they're doing something as well.
We don't know if our 7-Eleven is going to do it.
Yeah. It's just information we should know if it's going on. There's no question about it. Okay. All right. If there's no other members of the public, Omar, we're going to close public comment time and move on to the consent agenda. Okay, Wendy, here's my moment to see if I get this right. Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion for the consent agenda as amended, and we're voting on resolutions R21-228 through R21-247 and R249, 250, and 251.
You are correct, Mayor.
Could I have a motion, please?
Mayor, how do we see some of the language? I'm sorry. Can we just say the titles one more time so I know what I'm voting?
Sure. R21-228 through R21-247 and R249, R250, and R251.
If it would help, I could tell you the titles of the 3 that were added on. So, let me just check the list. For R21-249, that is overpayment of property taxes to Core Logic, and there's a series of property taxes that overpayments that are listed to that entity. These are through the mortgage companies. For R21-250, it's the same, but the mortgage company would be Loretta. And for R21-251, it's to the overpayments to Omega.
Wendy, I just had a question about the R21-247, the temporary parking. This wasn't what we heard about before with extending the parking permissions of one of the companies. I just wasn't sure what this one was.
This is the follow-up to our last meeting where there was a correspondence requesting from the mayor and council a temporary use permit to allow parking at 81 Hudson Avenue. So this resolution would grant the ability for cars to be parked there for a period not to exceed 6 months.
What was that company or something? Yeah,
That was for
sorry.
Honda, wasn't it?
That was a Honda, right?
The Honda.
Yes.
Right. But I didn't think that we came to a resolution on that.
No.
I thought we were all opposed to it, or not opposed to it, but we wanted further information before we voted on it or agreed to it.
We can
we gave them a 6-month time period.
Yeah,
Right.
and I remember hearing, I think
So-
it was Dan who said that previously they'd gotten to extend it. So like, that's where was my confusion.
So this is, if you see the resolution, there is the ability under the ordinance in chapter 35, and I don't have it open to tell you exactly the section, but what it is there's the ability for the mayor and council when a use is not otherwise permitted under zoning, instead of going for a full-on variance for a continued use, it's asking the mayor and council to authorize for a period not to exceed 6 months. We can certainly pull it if you want a separate vote on that one. If not everyone's in favor of it, that's absolutely okay. But it is in follow-up to the confusion at the last meeting. This never came before the zoning board for a use variance. Instead, they're only looking for the temporary permit from the council.
I would like it pulled because I thought that part of the whole history of this was that they've gotten other temporary, they'd gotten permission previously. Am I wrong on this? Did I hear that?
So the question with this is, we can certainly pull it and vote separately, but this is the process of the appeal. They went from the zoning department, which turned it down, and they're appealing to the mayor and they're appealing to the council. If the council votes yes or no, up or down on it, to grant it or not to grant it.
Is there a rationale for why the council would differ from the committee that they're empowering?
Because
It
people
did
are,
not go, I'm sorry, Mayor, just to clarify, it was denied by the zoning official, not the zoning board.
correct.
Shouldn't it go to the zoning board?
No, that's not the process. The process is the first appeal comes to us because it's a temporary request on part of the property owner.
And this property owner owns the property, but it's not a
Oh, it's
permitted
leased.
use.
I can't, that's the question for
It's
what?
a lease of the property.
They lease the property, but it's not a permitted use, so they're asking for us to change the permitted use.
No, they're asking for a temporary permit to allow the use for a period of 6 months. They're not asking for a variance. They're not
Do you
asking
know
for a long-term variance.
Do you know how long they've been getting the variances? I mean, I'm sorry, the permission.
My understanding is they've had permission given in other times, but I cannot for sure tell you that it was at this location. It might have been
Right.
at a different location.
It's my understanding that this is a new request for this location.
That was my understanding as well. But
And
I
do they
wasn't
pay
given
for
information
this?
one way or the other on that.
Do they pay anything for this, or they're
So
because it's their land, they're leasing it?
So we have a private property owner who's agreed to let the Honda people store their cars there, and they want permission to be able to store the cars there. Whatever financial agreement they have between them, that has nothing to do with us. The question is whether the council wants to grant them the temporary ability to store these cars there or not.
And this is the lot. I apologize. Again, this news new that just popped in here. This is the lot across the street from the Honda dealership. This is the.
This is on 80.
Or sorry, this is right.
I see Councilman Grossman's hands up.
Councilman Grossman, please.
Just so I can clarify for everyone, because on the Board of Adjustments, we approve, for example, for BMW, a similar lot. The reason that went to the Board of Adjustments is that's permanent. In fact, you can see that lot on Hudson, not far from Piermont. There's a lot, we made them put in lighting, shrubbery, all that, because that was permanent. This is actually up the block from it. It's, again, a private property. They have a lease agreement. The only reason it doesn't go to the Board of Adjustment is they don't do temporary. So the question of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months temporary situation goes before the mayor and council rather than the Board of Adjustments. So I hope that clarifies, and that's where it is. It's not near where Honda is, because they're on County Road. This is.
Oh, I see it. I see it on Google Maps now.
Okay, so yeah, this is another location. For a while, I think they were putting cars in the parking lot across from the old Tenafly Swim Club site. So they've been storing cars wherever they can. So this would just, also, I think they're storing cars off Jersey Avenue.
No, you look at it Google Maps, it feels like the cars are everywhere. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that has become, and these businesses hold high-end stores. So we're between, in some ways, we're between a rock and a hard place. If we want to keep car dealerships in Tenafly, they need places nearby to store the cars. Even if it's temporary when they get an influx of cars. So that was at least the argument BMW made to the Board of Adjustment.
But it doesn't, I mean, after Councilman Grossman explained, I mean, I don't need it pulled then. Yes, you're right. I remember, of course, the controversy around the fact that there were cars being stored in some public lots. I had a lot of issues with that. But if it makes sense, then it doesn't need to be pulled on my account.
I'm okay.
Okay. All right. So then do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Omar, can you read the roll, please? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes, and I'm thrilled that we have a bid for Fisters.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to public hearing, 21-12, unrepresented employee salary ordinance. Omar, can you please read the confirmation of publication and the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 21-12. It was advertised in the Saturday, May 29th edition of the Record. And it is an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatchers, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly in the County of Bergen and State of New Jersey for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Okay, thank you, Omar. I'd like to open the floor for public comment on ordinance 21-12 only. Are there any members of the public, Omar, that you could see that would like to speak on this?
No, I do not, Mayor.
None? Okay.
None.
We're going to close public comment. Councilman Grossman, would you like to make the motion on this ordinance, please?
Sure. I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 21-12, and that notice the same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please conduct the roll call?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to old business, 2021 local municipal budget, resolution 21-248 to adopt the 2021 local municipal budget. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes, and I want to again thank Susan Corrado and her team in the finance office for putting together our municipal budget. I'm proud to pass it.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And alrighty. Okay, we're going to move on to committee reports. Councilman Grossman, would you like to go first, please?
So I wasn't prepared to go first, but that's fine. The planning board, had a very brief meeting. They're actually discussing going back into public meetings in person. They're looking forward to being able to work out those logistics. And they are just awaiting new applications. So they're actually, for the first time in about a year, it's a slightly slower time period. The HPC met, don't have the notes in front of me, but from my recollection, one of the things that I hope to be able to share soon is the walking tour. We were talking about Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They have come up with an incredible walking tour with detailed descriptions of different sites in Tenafly, most of which are related to Ms. Stanton, but some of which are other aspects of history in town. And hopefully that walking tour will be something that will draw people to come here and learn more about Elizabeth K. Stanton in Tenafly rather than just Elizabeth K. Stanton in Johnstown, New York, which claims her because she lived there for a while too, actually. A bit of her life. Then the Stigma Free met, and I do want to just mention they're working on bringing in a speaker during the summer. There will be a community event, date to be determined, but this is a woman who basically interviews people who have faced challenges, overcome them, and she'll be talking to some of our residents who have done that. I believe the website, if you want to check her out, is called The Unsealed. It's theunsealed.com to learn a little more about her and what they are planning. But I will be providing details of that as we get closer. And by the way, her name is Lauren Brill. She would be the featured speaker. And then finally, the Tenafly Presents. There's still tiny tweaks, I hate to say it, in the schedule for Thursday nights. Our Tuesday nights are all booked. We're just doing some small changes to our Thursday night, but I can tell you that our kickoff concert, I am so psyched about this. It's right around the corner. Will be on Tuesday, July 6th, and it will be the Bruce Experience. It will be a Bruce Springsteen tribute band. We don't have a lot of tribute bands coming this year. Actually, that may be the only one, but that's how we're getting the series started this year. It should be awesome. And that is my report.
It's fabulous, Jeff. I'm looking forward to July 6th. It came around real quick.
Sure did.
Jeff, for the unsealed.com, the person from that, would that be to speak to the town with stigma free or through to the school or what,
So
when?
we're planning that on the summer because the school does a lot and we don't really have a lot of outreach that has been done to parents of struggling kids and adults who are struggling. You know, it's not only kids who have anxieties and ADHD, there's adult versions and depression. So this actually will not be a school centric event. It will be
Okay, good to know.
community wide.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Councilman Michaels, would you like to go next, please?
Sure, not too much. A couple quick things. So we have our rec board meeting on Monday. This coming Monday, our first in person. So if anyone wants to come and join in the fun, excited about that. We actually have I had our first. I had a quick connect. If you guys remember, 2 weeks back, the council and everyone we approved a downtown revitalization planner. I caught up actually with Noah this morning for a few minutes. He's the BFJ team is super excited about engaging. We actually already have our first Steerco meeting in the books coming up on week of the 28th. Super Noah and the team super excited about engaging the public. He's already talking about the public sessions. One exciting one I'm actually going to bring up on Thursday at our joint use meeting is he thought it'd be super cool how important students, how much they use the downtown. And let's see if I could convince the school board to for us to do a sort of student-led focus group to understand what the high school students and middle school students are looking for from their downtown. So that was something exciting that Noah brought up. So really excited about that. And then the only other thing is on my Where in the World is Adam Michaels, my tour of Bergen County and all of our municipalities. I've been enjoying the different council meetings. I was in Old Tapan, which most importantly has a Dairy Queen, which is my prerequisite for going to council meetings. And had the great fortune, thank you to Councilman, you invited me and got to participate in or got to listen to that council meeting as well. Again, you know, one of the things that I'll continue to push my fellow council people and our mayor is they had it done in under an hour. They get a lot of stuff done. Their borough administrator and clerk do a lot of that stuff and leave the stuff that's needed for the sort of board of directors to do that. So there seems to be a lot fewer items that make its way to the council, and more is done by a seemingly very able borough administrator. I don't know if our Susan's online, but everyone knew Susan Corrado. It was amazing. Like, oh, you work with Susan. So that was pretty impressive. But yeah, so it was a great session. I think Fairlawn is next for me, my old hometown, my old stomping ground. But it's been, and Councilwoman O'Connor, so if Julie wants to attend. So it's been great. I'm really enjoying this. I'm learning a whole lot. So I'll continue to share out to my fellow council people on some best practices or at least other practices that other towns are doing. That's all I got.
Adam, did you
Yep.
get to ask Old Japan about their sidewalk ordinance?
They brought it up, actually. I'll talk to you offline about it. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, Susan prepped me for my meeting to ask about
Right.
that. So yes, I'll give you
I've
the
spoken,
down.
yeah. Councilman Yoon and I have spoken about it, so, you know, all right, offline.
Yep. No, it's great. And everyone is always welcome. I'd really, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And I got Dairy Queen, so I'm good.
Congratulations on your Dairy Queen acquisition. We're all very happy for you there.
Maybe you want to tell Councilman Michaels that he needs to go to New Milford. They have a Dairy Queen.
There you
Done.
go.
Consider it done.
Okay. Councilman Menon, please.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Vanu.
Sorry, I started rambling. two meetings. The first one, zoning board of adjustment. Again, there's the number of pools in Tenafly is increasing like crazy. Two more were requested, applied for, um, and both were approved. And then there was a third application for having a single driveway increase to the size of a double driveway on Jefferson Avenue because it was difficult for the homeowner to get in on a busy street. So that also was approved by the board. There was a meeting of the senior center, and they have at the moment their membership drive is going through, and they've got robust numbers, and it's increasing quickly as people come out from their COVID concerns. And so that's increasing, and it's doing quite well, especially compared to last year. They were selling a book of the artwork from their art classes. So they put together a bunch of pieces of artwork that the students had done, and put it together and was selling it for $25 each. They've already sold 30 plus books, and hope to sell another 50 or 70 shortly. So if you want one, speak to Michelle at the senior center. A lot of the classes are going hybrid with outdoor and indoor, but the outdoor classes are pretty much done with. Because we're getting into the summertime. Last year they had no choice, but this year, now that now that it's been opened up, they're fine with having indoor classes. They have a Trash to Treasure sale. It's a flea market sale on August 28th. So please, everybody, come on out. They're going to have a bake sale. They're going to do all kinds of fun things. And then finally, they're planning events, for the seniors, like they were doing prior to COVID. So one of them is to Lancaster, and another one is to Lake George, I believe in late July. So things are returning to some level of normalcy, it looks like. One final thing that I learned is that the senior center received a grant for air conditioners. Well, they had already put in through the budget air conditioning units, and had just put it in. Well, crazy as it is, they ended up taking out the old new air conditioners and put in the ones that they received by grant. And the old new air conditioning units have been moved to other parts of the borough, from what I understand. Yeah.
So
And
at least
that's
they're being used then, right? They're,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing, from what I understood. That they applied for the grant a couple of years ago, and then they only got it recently. So that's it. Those were the two.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Councilman Park.
Last Saturday, I believe everyone was there. The Rose Garden had their delayed grand opening. Big shout out to the Green Team, the Garden Club, and the Rose Buddies for maintaining one of the prettiest parks we've got, and it's mind-blowing out there. They have a map which we will be working on digitizing for the website, and hopefully in the near future we put it on a placard by the gate so people can take a QR picture of it and just load up the types of roses, over 60 types of roses and breeds, load up right up to their phone so that when they're walking around, they know what they're looking at.
I do have to say, Dan, and I know I'm like low man on the totem pole here. I've only been in town 10 years. I have never seen the Rose Garden before. It is amazing. To my younger residents that are short on cash during the dating scene, I can't wait to take my wife there. She's gonna think I'm gonna totally take all of like Dan's credit and say like I built it myself, but it is sincerely just really, really beautiful. It ended up being a great day. So thank you to everybody for inviting the mayor and council, and just congratulations to everyone. I know I had a chance to speak to the guy that put it all together, that designed it. And his biggest thing he said was, it's actually not him, all the volunteers that take the time to care for the roses. That's what makes or break it. So really impressive, Dan. Really, really impressive.
But don't thank me, thank the volunteers, man.
And no one tell my wife, okay? I'm gonna surprise her.
On that note, the volunteers go in there every day, every single morning, to cut kind of some of the, I guess it's the dead or wilting petals off of the roses every day.
Amazing.
Go ahead, Dan. Continue, though. Thank you.
That was it.
You're all set? Okay. All right. Thank you, Dan. Councilwoman Dayton?
Adam, that Rose Garden, I was there every day in the pandemic, so we could walk there. It's beautiful. And I just want to remind residents not to pick the roses or cut them, because we have seen that. So for me, of course, I have to start with this past weekend and thank our incredible Pride Committee for a wonderful and inclusive day of tolerance and celebration. Our Pride Committee worked incredibly hard. I want to give a huge thank you to Natalie Kavanaugh, Dory Kavanaugh, Scott Cooper, JP, and of course, everyone who attended, all of our special guests, and thank you to all of our mayor and council for attending. I think that is very important for us to be present. And so that, of course, is a huge thank you. And thank you for the DPW and all the workers on the chairs and the flags to get the day set up and really just brighten our town. So thank you. The Tenafly Nature Center that same morning had Tenafly Nature Day, and it was a huge success. They brought in many organizations from around Bergen. My daughter Emily and I went. We saw bees. We talked to river keepers. We talked to many vendors that were there for educational purposes. They brought in a petting zoo with goats, and now they're considering getting goats up there. There was discussion of Councilman Michael's idea for a tree zip line course and a ropes course, and everyone just loved the idea. So thank you to Deborah Davidson and all of the staff at the Tenafly Nature Center for that. And there is a new hire there as well. And so he's up and running. And so Deborah is doing a great job. So thank you to her. The Northern Valley Greenway is continuing to have meetings to try to push that project forward. And thank you to Andrew McKesh for that. The DPW met, and I think Jimmy's admin report really truthfully covered the majority of that material. So thank you, Jimmy. And the senior services meeting, which is actually scheduled for tomorrow, has been moved to this upcoming Friday morning. So for anyone listening who is planning on attending tomorrow, please log in on Friday. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor?
Sure. The Environmental Commission, remains concerned about the use of pesticides in the borough, so we're working toward, developing a dialogue after we get our ducks in a row about the type of things that people can use. What I'm talking about specifically is like the school grounds and possibly borough property. We're going to explore what's being used because we've had a few emails go out at this point about different school properties that they say keep off of for the next few days because we're having, them treating for pesticides. So the Environmental Commission's, concerned, and they they want to start pursuing some meetings and start getting to some alternatives. And then the other initiative that was
Wait, Julie?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just want to ask a question because before you came on, like 2 years ago, we actually, when Shama was still on, and they were using pesticides in Davis Johnson, believe it or not, around the roses, we as a council actually made a decision that no pesticides were to be used within the borough. And I believe that was, I don't know if it was an official something, but I know it was discussed and it should have been conveyed to the school board. So I'd be curious if you wouldn't mind if you can follow up with Omar and see what official action or not took place.
I
I had heard that, but I see Venu's hand is up. I'd heard.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Venu.
Yeah, I think we had a discussion with about Roundup specifically, and or whatever the chemical makeup of it is. But
Glyphosate.
what glyphosate. We had a discussion, and we were told by DPW that they were going to dispose of it, whatever stock they had. And that was my understanding that they had done it. I don't know if that actually whether they were just going to finish off the stock that they had. I don't know what their ultimate approach was, but that was what we had discussed at the time.
Yeah, my recollection is that we made a decision to ban it on borough properties and for the borough, the borough of Tenafly to stop using it.
Dan had
Julie,
something to say.
Go ahead, Dan.
Just to add, a few years back, I asked for the list to make sure that none of of all the chemicals, that none of it had it. So just circle back with Cassidy and get the list. He has it. It's just everything they buy has the chemical warnings and everything, so they know what they're using.
So I think that one of our problems from Environmental Commission standpoint is basically the school property, because we do keep getting emails saying that they are, using pesticides. So I, might be after, like I say, we have certain members on the commission who are pretty well schooled, no pun intended, in this issue. Then after that's kind of, solidified, I think maybe I'll ask perhaps the liaison to the Board of Ed or somebody that maybe we can help facilitate some meetings, because the school definitely does send out emails, and we got one today. Councilwoman Dayton's shaking her head about not using some of the school property. So I'm glad we've made that advance in the town property, but I think there's probably some more work. Well, I could tell you there's more work to be done. So I'll keep you all posted.
Mayor?
And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Since the timing works, you want to put this on the joint use agenda?
Oh, that would.
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
Okay. When should I have some of our people ready for that?
Well, I mean, the
Thursday.
Yeah, the joint use meeting is Thursday, so to the extent you can get to get us any data or information you have by then. It's at 4:00 on Thursday.
Okay. And one other thing, looking at like connections with Environmental Commission and other committees, we also are exploring like a welcome packet for people moving into homes. We thought the Tenafly Welcome Committee would be part of this, where it would come with information from the Environmental Commission about ways you can green your home that you've just moved into. So that's another project we're exploring.
So you're going to work with the Welcome Committee on that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's
Anything
it.
else? That's it?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so I wasn't going to, in the interest of time and not putting anyone to sleep tonight, I wasn't going to have any mayor's remarks, but I will have one particular comment that I just got a note that about an hour and a half ago or so, the U.S. Senate unanimously passed a measure, and I'm just reading this here, that would establish a federal holiday for Juneteenth, the day that marks the end of slavery in the United States. So that was unanimous, and that bill is now going to the House of Representatives, where hopefully it'll pass and move on to the president quickly for signing. So I just want to share that news with everyone, which is great news. Okay, so we have a closed session this evening. I'd like to get a motion to go into close, but first, Wendy, you have to read us the rules, please.
Sure, Mayor. It's resolution number R21-252. At a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on June 15th, 2021, be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matters: collective bargaining, contract negotiations update, and the school resource officer. And under attorney-client privilege, the first item is lease terms, and second is potential litigation.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to go into close, please?
So moved.
I have a second. Someone second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to sign off and then re-sign on in a few seconds.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Hey, great minds think alike, Benny. You jumped right on.
No, I never left.
Oh, okay.
I stayed
Took a
in.
page out of my book.
Yeah, exactly, Omar. I was like, why am I
Nice.
gonna have to retype all this stuff and
Okay, good idea.
I saw Omar and I were the only ones left standing.
I'll do it next time. I'll do that.
Old Japan may be quick, but we get lots of fun stuff in here.
Dude, is now, what is it, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3.5 hours in. That's like 3 months, 4 months of Old Japan meetings.
All right, can I get a motion to close the open?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night.
You can do anything but lay off of my blue suede shoes. You can knock me down, step in my face, slander my